Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Wednesday, March the 6th, 2019, 4:58 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. And I want to start just with recalling the sulfur dioxide release in Alaska that we saw yesterday from CAMS. This is kind of an upside version. This is the North Pole view, and we saw it releasing, and I said that that could be indicative of earthquake activity to come, and we are seeing that in Alaska today. We're seeing a lot of activity, and we had a large earthquake up here. Now the release, we saw it coming from this this part of the Cook Inlet area, and I said that a lot of times I see earthquakes not necessarily in the area where I saw the release, but maybe 100 miles away or even further. And here's what we have up here at Kobuk that has come in today. We've got 6 right in this Kobuk area, and the biggest one was a 5.2, and that one came in at 1:33 this afternoon Pacific time. And so there have been 6 in a matter of 3.5 hours. So the 5.2, then there was a 3.3, a 2.6, 3.1, 3.0, and 2.9. And I expect more to be happening here. And then here's one just north of that, a 2.7. So that's actually 7 in the Kobuk area. And then one just north of that, and a 2.4. So that's 8. So that could be from that release. I don't know. I'm just saying that the sulfur dioxide can be an indicator of activity to come. So we're going to leave earthquakes right now. And I didn't see new sulfur dioxide release today from CAMS. So we're not, not up here in Alaska. There was more down here in Mexico. But that's not our main focus for today. Today, I'm going to headline Robin's article, Robin's blog post that he did, and he posted it in the comments section under my show from yesterday. And this is robinwestenra.blogspot.com. And the name of his blog is called Seymour Rocks. And the title of this post is Ice Nucleation Being Used to Mask Melting of the Sea Ice in the Arctic? And when I saw this, and he made this video, and it's really informative and good. He did a lot of work on this and brought a lot of information together to help people understand what's going on in the Arctic, and to help explain what we saw last summer. Now, last summer, Robin and I were busily tracking the melt season of the Arctic sea ice, and this was my first year to do it. And so I was pretty certain we were going to have an ice-free Arctic, and then it didn't happen according to the experts. But it was just not because of the thinness of the sea ice, but because of the extent. And so he reposted here an article from Dane Wigington talking all about geoengineering the polar regions and the chemical ice nucleation factor. And this puts together a lot of dots for me and can explain why we have not seen an ice-free Arctic yet, technically, but I believe we're seeing the effects of a blue ocean event. And I kept saying back in the fall, saying that even if we don't have the official blue ocean event, it's so thin up there and the ice is not good ice, and it's thin and mushy, and I just don't see how it can keep it cool and all this. And so what we've seen since then is all these weird weather patterns, lots of flooding, lots of drought. Over here on Climate Reanalyzer, this is the 2-meter temperature anomaly right now. It's a lot hotter in this North Pole region than it normally is, while it's colder down here through most of the United States. And then we click around the world. It's a lot hotter in Siberia than it should be or normally. And then this area here, anywhere you see the browns and the reds, and there's the Antarctic, and look at Australia. They've been, and now they're in the blues, so they're colder down here in the southern part than they normally should be. And then it's brown. I mean, it's a definite demarcation. New Zealand, it's in the brown. And if you look at sea surface temperature anomalies, the sea surface temperature is crazy. And so the ocean currents are messed up, the jet stream is messed up, the temperatures are messed up. I mean, it's all breaking down, and we can see this all around the world. We can see the breakdown in the environment. We can see the breakdown in governments. We can see the breakdown in the economy. We can see the breakdown in people's minds and their health, and it's unraveling. And I think that they've been just keeping the extent up here in the Arctic Sea just enough to put us off and to confuse the general population. And the climate scientists say, oh, we've got good extent, so we don't have anything to worry about, when in reality that sets us up for false thinking, because in reality this is manufactured ice that's here. And I have had all kinds of thoughts on the ramifications of it, and I feel very, very somber today and grieving a lot about my new realizations, and it's all coming home to a new level, and to the point where we probably would have had a blue ocean event 2 or 3 years ago if it were not for the manipulation of what they're doing up there, because we're seeing the effects of it with the weather and everything. And I believe that they did this, that the powers that be did this because their world domination plan was not totally in place. They needed 5G up and running, and they needed AI up and running. And so they're putting the final touches on all of that for world domination before we can see an ice-free Arctic. And so those are my thoughts. And look at this jet stream. It's broken up into, and it's just looping and going around, and It's insane. This is not what a jet stream is supposed to look like. It's totally not. Look at that. Look at there's just a V, and then it splits off, and then in the southern hemisphere it's wavy as well. And so it's no wonder that the whole world is screwed up. And here are the storm systems around the planet right now. And we've got this atmospheric river happening over California and coming over into Nevada, and it's just storm after storm after storm, and we can't get a break. We just can't get a break. And look at this big system here in the Atlantic, and you've got them all over the place. And look at this one that goes all around the equator. This like, it's insane. And they don't want the truth to come out. They're trying everything they can to keep the truth from coming out. But the truth will come out. And the truth will set you free if you know how to discern it. And anyway, so let's go over this article, and then we'll do earthquakes, and that's going to be my show for today. So this is from Dane Wigington. Here's a picture of this nucleated ice. And it's the way they make it. They use chemicals, they use heavy metals, they use aluminum, barium, and ammonia, and mix it all together and some other stuff, and it causes the surface to freeze. And I'm thinking it just adds a frozen layer of something on the top, but it's not really ice. And then once that melts, that gets into the water system, so we're drinking it, we're bathing in it, it's raining on us with that stuff, it's snowing on us with that stuff. They're probably using the same stuff to seed the clouds to make snow and to make rain, and they've been doing this for a long, long time. And geoengineering is nothing new. They've been doing it for decades and decades and decades. And in fact, you can look at NASA Worldview. Here it is from today. Here's the Arctic view, and we can see that the black circle is getting smaller, and now we're within the 80-degree north latitude range. So we're getting well close to the North Pole, which is at 90 degrees. And when you go down here to Greenland, you can find evidence of that fake ice any day of the week up here. You can find it. This looks almost identical to that picture, doesn't it? Look at that. See? That's almost identical with the swirly. That's not normal. I thought it was just ocean currents, but, you know, I mean, once I saw the pictures from Dane, and, you know, I'm like, oh, I know what that is, because I was seeing that all last summer. And we see, here's some more. Look at that, all those edges. And I know I'm going to have a bunch of people say, oh no, that's the way it is, and that's the ocean doing it, and this and that. But, you know, I'm telling you, this is not normal. And because we have the evidence of the erratic climate, the super disastrous storms that are happening now, the tornadoes, all over the place. And here's some more by Novaya Zemlya. Look at that. And I mean, we're seeing evidence of it, and so you have to look in a lot of different places, and it's not this or that or one or the other. It's a combo plate. It's a holistic view, and that's how we can finally understand what's going on and understand how close we are to the end, because we want to know. We want to know, and if the priests in the climate scientist community say, oh no, it's a nice free Arctic and we're okay for another year, and you believe that, you blindly believe that without doing your own research or without getting your own insights, I feel bad. I feel bad. And so I'm showing what I've found in my research, and that's what I've been doing since April of last year, since I got on to this climate change, abrupt climate change bandwagon and looking and everything, and that's all I'm doing is reporting on what I see. And what I see doesn't add up with, what the officials are telling us. And we're screwed. And it's the end. And now that I've started studying earthquakes, it's like, it's really the end. And I know now why God told me to start reporting on earthquakes, because the time is so close. So let's get going here. And if you want to see the original article, now this is from July 12th, 2017. You can click here. And Dane's website is geoengineeringwatch.com. It's really .org, I think. Is it .com? Yeah, it's .org. But if you click on that link, it goes there. So if you want to read it from here, you can. It's totally up to you. I find the graphs and things are a little clearer on this part of the website, except you got all the pop-ups and everything. We can go to the clean reader view. The chemical ice nucleation factor. Okay, from Dane Wigington. It's official. One of the largest icebergs ever recorded just broke off from Antarctica. This was the A68 from Larsen C that I've been showing. This extraordinary ice calving event happened in spite of it being the middle of winter in the South Pole. Yeah, it was in July of 2017. It happened in spite of the all-out climate engineering chemical ice nucleation assault being carried out on both polar regions. Due to extreme intimidation by the current administration and its fossil fuel industry, military-industrial complex appointees, previous administrations as well, the science community is generally afraid of thus unwilling to speak candidly about the Larsen C collapse or climate engineering, its causes, and its ramifications. And I showed that A68 that broke off. I showed that every time we look at the Antarctic and how it's moved around. I showed that a couple of days ago. Chemical ice nucleation processes must be seen to believed. The vast majority have no idea how powerful chemical ice nucleating or endothermic reacting materials are. The vast majority have no idea that such chemicals are being utilized by the global climate engineering cabal on a massive scale. The use of such patented processes is not just for engineering winter storms on a rapidly warming world, but the same chemical elements are being used to artificially chemically nucleate ice on sea surfaces. power structure funded disinformation of individuals and sources, of course, never mentioned chemical ice nucleation and its use by the geoengineers. Uh-oh, what happened? While putting out completely false information about global cooling or global warming, it's a hoax. Such false narratives are extremely harmful to the critical cause of exposing and halting climate engineering. Such false narratives are also exactly what the power structure and the climate engineers want. The climate science community also toes the line for the power structure and the geoengineers by never mentioning the ongoing climate engineering insanity in any way. To do otherwise is a very bad career decision, or worse. The illegal federal gag order on all National Weather Service and all National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, employees, courtesy of the Obama administration, is further proof of this fact. Sea surface chemical ice nucleation creates extremely anomalous patterns that resemble a chemical spill dispersion, because that is exactly what these patterns are. The recent NASA satellite images below, taken in the polar regions, provide shocking proof of these sea surface patterns. Click the images to enlarge. So we can click that. And so we see it, that we can see stuff like that. I just showed you stuff exactly like that in NASA Worldview today. And see, that's from NASA Worldview. He doesn't have the date on there, but that's okay. Where'd I go? Hang on. I want to go back and read it from the article. Hang on, I gotta get this. Okay, I've got it up here. Where were we? Here's another picture, and there's the beaming. There's the weird ice. We saw ice. I saw ice that hung around in the Beaufort Sea that looked weird like that last summer, and I didn't know what it was, and it was just hanging out all by itself. And here it is, just streaming through. And the climate scientists, a lot of them will call it grease ice, where it's just a little bit of film on the top where it's forming, and they say it's swirling around and in those patterns because of the water current moving it around. Historically unprecedented, completely uniform ice balls are now often showing up along the shores of water bodies where ice nucleating materials are being dispersed. Here, ice balls on the Baltic coast in northern Poland. Official sources say this recent unprecedented phenomenon is just natural. Are we to believe them? Ice balls have formed and accumulated on Lake Michigan in the last few years. Why? Such ice balls has even been formed on lake water that was 40 degrees. How is this possible at temperatures far above the normal freezing point? Without chemical ice nucleation, it isn't possible. Look at that. They're so uniform. That flips me out. That just blows my mind. Ice balls on the coast of Finland. The official explanation for this recent mysterious anomaly? Again, we're told this historically unprecedented phenomenon is just a natural occurrence. For decades, the climate engineers have been able to mask the true degree of planetary meltdown with various processes like chemical ice nucleation. the Chinese government openly admitted their use of chemical ice nucleation for weather modification. But we must consider at what cost has this grand deception come. Geoengineering has created short-term toxic cool-downs at the cost of an even worse overall long-term planet warming. Not only are all the climate engineering elements highly toxic, but by chemically nucleating sea surfaces in the polar regions, the climate engineers are actually preventing rapidly warming seas from releasing their heat. So that's why the heat's building up. This, in turn, is further fueling the thawing of formerly frozen methane seabed deposits. Well, we've seen that. We've seen that in CAMS, and CAMS doesn't have new methane data up yet. They've got it up. They say they have it up for Tuesday from last week, but you try to run the movie and it won't run. So, it's over a week old. So, anyway, the releasing methane then greatly contributes to feedback loops, which in turn radically worsen the overall warming of the planet. Over a 10-year time horizon, methane is over 100 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than CO2. So, here's the maximum Arctic sea ice extent. See how it's gone down through the years. Global sea ice extent. And, these are all charts and graphs that we're all familiar with. Has continued to decline rapidly in spite of and in many ways because of the decades-long global climate engineering chemical ice nucleation programs. Official sources have also long since resorted to manipulating data in order to help hide the implosion of Earth's ice deposits, the cryosphere. For example, any sea surface area in the polar regions that has 15% or more of surface slush is officially considered to be part of the ice pack. Isn't such an area of sea surface still 85% open ocean? Of course. And here's the Pyomas chart. The volume or mass of the sea ice is the real bottom line. Even with the unimaginably extensive sea surface chemical ice nucleation onslaught by the geoengineers, the Arctic sea ice volumes have continued to plummet, as shown in the graph above. The color-coded ice mass thickness graphs above are a further illustration of the rapid ice thinning in the Arctic. Oh, and I have something to show you. I went to the Navy website and downloaded, today is March the 6th, 2019. I downloaded the thickness graph for today, for today back through the 15th. And so you can see, now see, here's our extent, and here's our graph over here. And so purple is a meter and below, and if it's in the lavender zone, it's like half a meter and below. And then blue is about 1 to 1.25 meters thick. And into the dark blue-green is 1.5 meters thick. The aqua is 2 meters thick, and so on and so forth. So we can see there are areas here where it's quite thin, and then it's thin around in the middle, and then it's thin here around the edges here, and then the Bering Strait, they're now saying is ice free. So, and if we go back here it was from March the 6th of 2018. And so it's not much different. In fact, we have more of an extent. Our extent is better this year than it was last year over here on the east side, but the thickness is worse for this year. Here it was for this 2017. Now look at the extent. Look at how it goes in there, and it's quite thin. In fact, that's quite thin over here in the Chukchi Sea too. Here it was for 2016. Now this one looks a little better. This is more like what we're seeing this year. And here it was for 2015. So here we see the older sea ice. They still had a lot of the older, or some of the older, thicker sea ice that hung out off the coast of the northern coast of Greenland and Canada there into the red zones. But that's all gone. That's all gone now. And so the thickness, we've lost the thickness. And that's what it looks like this year. At the end, coming to the end of the winter season up there when it should be the thickest. So temperatures in the far north are rising rapidly, as is reflected by the increasingly sharp decline of freezing degree days as shown in the above graph. The GISS temperature anomaly map above reflects the changes that are rapidly occurring on our planet, and so on and so forth. And it's much worse now. You know, this was almost 2 years ago that he wrote up this paper. No slowdown in global warming. All available data indicates the overall global climate engineering assault has been further ramped up under the Trump administration, especially over the polar regions shown in the surface temperature map below. Now, I'm not going to accept political comments. I don't want to get political. I'm just reading the article. The temperature departure from average map below further reveals the areas of concentration for climate engineering orchestrated chemical cooldowns and sea surface chemical ice nucleation, also fueling extreme hail events. The extremely varied temperature extremes are indicative of the weather whiplash effect being created by global geoengineering programs. Greenland, Siberia, and Antarctica should be noted as climate engineering concentration areas due to the grave ramifications posed by the melting ice and or frozen methane deposits in these regions. And we know about those. We talked all about those. But again, this must be remembered and considered. The climate engineers are further worsening the overall long-term warming of the planet in their attempt to mask the warming over the short term. This is in addition to the geoengineering programs shredding the ozone layer and totally disrupting the hydrological process and completely contaminating the biosphere. So it's all broken. So you can, if anyone wants to read this, they can certainly do that. Okay, there's just one more paragraph. I'll read that. As the state of the climate and biosphere rapidly worsens, the more aggressive disinformation sites and sources will become in the attempt to cover up the threat. Sites and sources that do not post credible or verifiable frontline data, sites and sources that are proficient at putting out pacifying lies that the majority of the population chooses to believe because the unvarnished truth is very difficult but necessary to face. Disinformation sites and sources try to claim that there is nothing wrong with the climate while completely omitting any mention of climate engineering. That the oceans are fine, the environment is fine, and that anyone who says otherwise is just an alarmist. The disinformation sites often simply cite past predictions from various individuals and sources that have not yet come to pass as proof that everything is fine because Walmart is still open and McDonald's is still selling Big Macs. Anyone that chooses to believe such a baseless argument for everything is fine is a part of the problem. Denial won't save us. Denial won't save the planet on which our lives and our collective reality depends. A truly healthy mind does not run from the truth. Rather, it's willing to face it head on, no matter how dire the truth is. On the current course, short of a complete change of direction by our species, our days are numbered. The greatest and most immediate threat we face, short of nuclear cataclysm, is climate engineering, which also must be considered weather and biological warfare. The greatest leap we could collectively make in the right decision at this late hour is to fully expose and halt the ongoing climate engineering insanity. And then if you want to help Dane in his activism, you can go to his website right there, and he's got flyers and stuff to help you. And he says this may be freely reprinted so long as the text is unaltered, all links are left intact, and credits for the article is prominent, and given to geoengineeringwatch.org. So, you got it, Dane. You got it. So, there's that. So this just, it put a lot of dots together, and I want to thank Robin for his blog post and his video and everything, because this, it just brings it home to another level. Because who would have thought they were making ice to go in the Arctic? Who would have thought that? But it makes sense if they make snow so that people can, you know, for the skiers, so that they can go ski. Why wouldn't they make ice? Why wouldn't they do that? And why wouldn't they just complicate the problem and make the problem more complex by doing that? Because once this stuff breaks down into the environment, oh my God, I mean, it's going to kill everything, and we're seeing the effects of that now. Here's the Bering Strait. These are clouds. We can't really see where the sea ice is. It's right along here. But they're saying the Bering Strait is open. Here it is. Here's from 2 days ago. See? No ice. So it's open. It's unprecedented this time of year. So there you have it. So we're going to leave that. And now we're going to do our earthquake report and finish up. So what I'm saying is, with the realization of all of this, I mean, time is shorter than anybody thought. I've had this urgency thinking it was very short, but all of my intuitions and guidance and things that I've gotten from within have all been confirmed to me now. And time is very short. I mean, it's shorter than we know. We're on the brink. Literally, I mean, I would be surprised if something big didn't happen in the next month. I would be shocked. So, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. So we've got USGS, all magnitudes of earthquakes pulled up for the last 24 hours, and we're showing 225 worldwide. And we're showing 45 earthquakes that were 2.5 magnitude and higher. So all magnitudes were 225 and 45 that were 2.5 magnitude and higher. And we've had, the last time I counted, there were 12 that were 5 magnitude and higher worldwide. The last time I counted on this map. We're going to start with this we're going to start right down here in Colombia. There was one off the coast of Trinidad that just came off the map. It actually came in earlier yesterday, but they didn't get it put on the map in time for my report. But there was one right over here too. Okay, so we're looking at a 4.5 near Barranquilla, Colombia, that happened yesterday at 5:48 p.m. Pacific time. These are all Pacific time, 46 kilometers deep. Now let's go over to here we've had one off the coast of the Honduras at 4.3 near Savannah Bight, Honduras at 2:15 this morning. And a 4.1 near Mapastepec, Mexico, that happened at 1:17 this afternoon, 33 kilometers, or 1:17 this morning, sorry, 33 kilometers deep. And let's get the Dominican Republic next while we're here. So we're seeing a lot of large earthquakes. So we've got 9 here in this region. I'll call them off. A 3.3 on land here, a 2.5, 3.4, 3.2, 3.0, 2.6, 2.4, 3.0, and 1.8. So that's the Dominican Republic. Let's look at, I want to show that Trinidad earthquake real quick. This is 7 days, 2.5 magnitude and higher, and here it was. It was on land, and it was a 4.4 near Tunapuna, Trinidad and Tobago, that came in yesterday at 4:12 in the afternoon, 57 kilometers deep. Now sometimes they don't get them posted for hours later, so that's why they might show up after I've already done the report. So let's go back to 1 day, 2.5 magnitude there. Now down here in the southern hemisphere, we've had a lot of activity. We had a 5.6 at the West Chile rise that came in last night at 11:20 this morning. And there was a 5.3 near the Bovet Island region. This is in the southern Atlantic area. That came in last night at 9:11. 9:11. Then New Zealand, actually it's in the Kermadec Islands just north of New Zealand. They've had a lot of activity today. Remember, this is a hot spot down here. They had get that one off the map. They've had the biggest one was a 6.4. It came in, it first registered I think as a 6.6 or 6.7, and then it was downgraded to a 6.4. I checked, there's no tsunami threat. We can look again to see if they've updated it. No, this was the last. And I've already checked, there's no tsunami threat on that. So the first one was a 6.4 that was 29 kilometers deep. Now if that had been on land, that would have caused a huge amount of damage. Now they calling these near L'Esperance Rock, New Zealand, but it's near the Kermadec Islands. The next one was a 5.0 at 7:59 this morning. Oh, the first one was at 7:46 this morning. Then the second one was at 7:59. Then there was a 5.7 at 12:19 this afternoon, 7.1 kilometers deep. And then a 5.1 at 1:42 this afternoon. So they've had 4 big ones down there, right on that red line. Then coming on around was a 4.7 near Isle Hunter, New Caledonia at 11:28 last night. Then on Papua New Guinea on land was a 5.6 near Ambunti, Papua New Guinea at 10:47 this morning, 129 kilometers deep. That would cause some damage. If that was in a populated area, that would cause damage. Just the fact that, you know, all these 5s and near 5s, I mean, it's showing that the magnitudes are getting higher. There was a 4.7 near Tobelo, Indonesia at 12:39 this morning, 51 kilometers deep. A 5.1 near Tobelo at 5:57 this morning, 48 kilometers deep. And a 5.0 near Tobelo again at 3:56 this afternoon, 44 kilometers deep. So we can see all these were in the ocean. Next, coming around this ring of fire was a 5.0 in the Volcano Islands, Japan region at 11:29 this morning, 8.3 kilometers deep. Then just off the coast of Japan, let's get a little closer here. Now here's Fukushima. So there were 2 here. There was a 4.0 near Ofunato at 10:43 this morning, 54 kilometers deep, and a 4.9 near Ofunato at 11:26 this morning, 63 kilometers deep. And when you see 4.9, that's close to a 5. That could have just been downgraded. That might have been a 5. Coming on up here to Russia, off the coast of Kamchatka, was a 4.7 near Nucleation, Russia at 8:30 this morning. Now, over here, right in the middle of the Red Sea, we've had two, right on the red line. This is, they're calling it near Saudi Arabia. That's the reporting station. But it's between Africa and Saudi Arabia. Hang on. So we've got these two. The first one was a 5.0 that came in at 11:54 this morning, and then a 4.7 at 1:24 this afternoon. Okay, so now let's go to all magnitudes. Looking at Hawaii next, we've got 7 here, one in the ocean here. I'll just call them off at 2.3, 1.8, 1.8, 1.9, 2.1, 2.1, and 1.9. So, still got activity going there. Let's move on up to the Alaska region. So we've got Alaska plus that one from Kamchatka on the map here. There are 77 here, so minus 1 is 76 for Alaska here today. Here's a 4.3 near Kiski volcano that happened at 12:52 this morning. And then they're lighting up. See, they're coming in. Let's go to 2.5 magnitude and higher. We'll cover those first. 2.8 near Kodiak. 2.9 near Kodiak. 2.8 near Anchor Point. 3.3 near Anchor Point. Now this is in that region where we saw that sulfur dioxide release. 2.5 near Anchorage, 2.7 near Big Lake, 2.7 near Meadow Lakes, 2.5 near Valdez, and then we just saw all of these up here. Now let's go to all magnitudes, especially for this Kobuk area. There are 13 here. The first one was a 0.7 near Esther. I'm not even seeing where that is. 0.8 near Nanina, North Nanina. 0.8 near North Nanina, 1.4 near North Nanina, 1.1 near North Nanina, 2.7 near Kobuk, 2.4 near Kobuk, 5.2, that's the big one that we saw near Kobuk, happened at 1:33 this afternoon, 9.3 kilometers deep, 3.3 at Kobuk at 1:58, 2.6 near Kobuk at 2:02, 3.1 near Kobuk at 2:25, 3.0 near Kobuk at 3:21, and 2.9 near Kobuk at 3:33. I think these were the non-Nino ones. Yep, those had been on the map. So without those, there were 8 right here in the Kobuk region. Then they're just peppered on down, coming down through the state. 1.9 near Koktovik just came in. Got a couple more in the Anchorage area. Here's a 2.2 near Willow. Here's a 1.8 near Middleton Island. Here's a 1.4 near Sutton Alpine. So 2.0 near Cantwell, and so on. So we're going to watch all of this really close. Now coming down into the lower 48. We have one up here in near Cleveland, Ohio, 2 kilometers southeast of Cleveland, Ohio. Now we normally don't see them here. A 2.0 that happened last night at 8:15 p.m., 5 kilometers deep. Looks like that's in the heart of civilization there. Right on Lake Erie there. Now coming on across, there was a 2.6 near Colgate, Oklahoma. And we've got 2 up here in Kansas, 1.7 and a 2.5 near Harper, Kansas. Then in Texas was a 2.4 near Pecos, Texas. Coming on up, look what we've got. We've got more here in Colorado at Dove Creek. Remember we saw that 2 days ago, that the large one was what, a 5.3 that got downsized to 4.6 or something. So we've got 3 more at the same place. We've got a 2.1 that was 1.1 kilometers in depth that happened last night at 11:49 p.m. and then a 2.3 at 7:49 this morning, 1 kilometer depth, and a 2.3 at 7:57 this morning, 0.8 kilometer depth. Look, they're all lined up in a row there. Next, moving on into Utah. There was a 2.2 near Fillmore at 10:45 last night. We've got some more at Farron. We've got 5 near Farron, 4 right down here and 1 up there. I'll call them off 1.2, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and this one was at a minus 3.4 kilometers depth. See, right there, that one that's off by itself. So that means it's up in the mountain. The earthquake was up in the mountain, so there's magma moving. It's probably an old volcano. And a 1.0 back down here. Is that it for Utah? And then there was a 1.7 near East Carbon City, Utah at 11:28 last night. Now looking at Yellowstone. We've got 9 in the area today. Here's a 1.6 near Lincoln, Montana. 1.1 near Whitehall, Montana. 1.2 near Lima, Montana. 1.1 near Lincoln, Montana. 0.5 near Old Faithful Geyser down there. 0.1 near Old Faithful Geyser, same place. And we had a 2.0 magnitude quarry blast right here near Butte, Montana. This one came in at 12:08 p.m. today at a negative 2.0 kilometers depth. 1.1 near Lincoln, Montana, and 1.3 near Manhattan, Montana. So things are moving over there. Then up in the Pacific Northwest, let's start with this one. 2.3 near Deer Park, Washington. This one came in today at 2:16 this afternoon at a minus 0.6 kilometers depth. So that was up in the mountain. So there's Deer Park. And it looks like this was Milan Hill. Milan Hill was where that was. It was up in the mountain, a 0.6 kilometers depth. So that's significant. Nothing else up here. That's eerily quiet. Oregon is clear, looks like. Uh-oh. No, these are small. Just because I can't see them doesn't mean they're not happening. Okay, here we go. We've got a 1.7 magnitude explosion near Castle Rock, Washington at 3:37 this afternoon that was at a minus 0.6 kilometers depth, and a 0.8 near Mount Hood Village, Oregon. Mount Hood right there is a volcano too. So that 0.8 came in at last night at 6:09 p.m. Okay, Northern California, we've got one right here near Quincy, a 1.0 near East Quincy at 5:26 this morning. Now let's cover Nevada next. The Reno area had just this one over here near Stagecoach. It's a 0.8 that came in at 12:09 this morning. Lake Tahoe's clear. Pyramid Lake is clear. What do we have up here? Here's a 1.4 near Carlin, Nevada at 2:10 this afternoon, 12 kilometers deep. Next, it's not too active. Here's a 1.6 explosion near Gabbed, Nevada at 2:40 this afternoon. Totally quiet down in southern Nevada. That's creepy. On a Wednesday? Are you kidding? It's a work day. They're supposed to be blowing stuff up and doing nuclear bomb tests and stuff underground. There's a 0.7 near Hawthorne and a 0.7 near Hawthorne. Let's see what's going on at the geysers. We've got 27 here today. Well, that's better than 40 like we had yesterday. Here's a 2.0. Here's a larger one. Here's a 2.2. That's all part of the geysers. The rest are in the ones in under range. Now we've got this one, a 2.4 near Livermore. They have a large Hadron Collider there, by the way, at Livermore, California, in case anybody didn't know. Look it up. Livermore is I just got the creeps when I think about it. I've never been there, but I get the creeps. 1.6 near Pinnacles, 2.1 near Pinnacles, and 1.6 near Pinnacles, all on this red line, the San Andreas fault line coming down. Here's one 1.2 near Avila Beach. Here's a 1.2 near Bodfish. Here's a 1.1 magnitude quarry blast near Mojave. .3 near Ludlow. And let's see what Southern California has. We've got a couple in Mexico. We've got a 2.3 near Alberto Oviedo Mota at 12:48 this morning, and a 2.3 near Delta at 5:18 this morning. So in Southern California, we're seeing 29 on the map. Here's a 2.1 in the ocean. They're saying near Carlsbad at 1:28 this morning. And a 1.2 in the ocean near La Jolla at 11:20 last night. Here's a 1.7 near Algodones. Los Algodones. We've got 3 in the Salton Sea here. We've got a 1.3, 1.7, 1.4. And then they're just peppered around. Here's the Kauai area. We've only got 15 here today. They're small. Ones and under. And so on. So these are pretty small. 1.1, 1.0, 1.2, and so forth. So let's come up the east side. We'll finish up this report. I've got Ludlow, 1.3 at Ludlow. Okay, we have at Mammoth Lakes, we've got 10 here today. And this is part of that Long Valley caldera area. I'll call them off. A 0.7, minus 0.1, 1.6, 1.5, 1.5, 0.8, 0.8, 1.0, 1.4, and 1.6. So little ones count. Little ones can add up to big ones. Here's one right in the middle of Mono Lake, a 1.2 that happened at 7-Eleven this morning. And here's a 0.9 near Bridgeport. And I think that's it. So let's zoom out. It's looking like, I don't know, a lot more activity up here in Alaska, but I don't know, I guess not. See if anything came in while we were doing our recording. uh, 2.7 near Meadow Lakes, Alaska. I think I showed that. We saw this 5.0 near Tobelo, Indonesia. And we saw the Kobuks, the ones at Kobuk, 2.9, 3.0. We saw all of those. So, that's a wrap for today. So, in light of the new information, you know, you can have an earthquake plan, you can have your preps and everything, you can have all the material planning that you care to do, but the most important is spiritual preparation. And spiritual preparation includes getting right with God and Jesus. And if you haven't done that, I recommend you do it now, before the shit hits the fan even more, because once that tsunami wave starts rolling in, you're not going to have time to think. You're not going to outrun it. Everyone will be affected by what's coming. These are cataclysmic changes around the planet. Everyone will be affected. No one is going to outrun it. So I recommend everyone get your spiritual house in order right now. I love you guys, and until next time, God bless you, go in peace, and goodbye.